T-test is basically used more often when we're doing linear regression models or something like that. You might also use these kind of tests to understand a difference of means between two groups, and when the data or the sample which you're extracting is somewhere around 30 or less than that, or you don't have access to the population variance, right? So when you don't have access to the population variance, so for example somebody tells you what is the variance of salary in the overall India population, you don't have any idea, right? So when data is not accessible, that is where your variance is also not accessible, and that is where a t-test becomes more handy. So we will have a look at the screen wherein it's shown that okay, if you have to do a t-test, then you can just say t dot test y, that is the data independent variable, or if you're just looking from two variable perspective, how are two groups of data behaving with respect to each other. So one would be a y and one would be x, right? And basis that you can do the t-test. Now when you're doing a t-test for two groups, so obviously one of the groups, say for example I do a test for male versus female salary. So my hypothesis test is H0. The salary for males and females is equal, right? So I can say the mean salary for male is equal to the mean salary of female. This is my null, and my alternate would be that the means are not equal. That is where I am saying that they are different, right? So if this is the case wherein the class of the data is gender, which is a categorical or a binary factor, then I will pass the data as y, that would be the salary data, and x would be the binary factor, and I would get the t-test for that. Obviously what you expect is that the value of p should be less than 0.05 to justify your alternate hypothesis. If it is greater than that, that means you are accepting the null hypothesis that they are equal to each other. Similarly, if you want to do an independent two group t-test, you can do a t-test wherein you are doing a y1 comma y2 where both of these are numerical and they are flowing from the same data. If you want to do a paired t-test, you will say t dot test y1 comma y2 dot paired is equal to true. So where you're saying that y1 and y2 are numeric but they are paired with each other, right? And these are more often used when you're doing tests related to clinical trials, wherein you are trying to see okay, how is the behavior of a drug with respect to a specific category. So this is about isolation and non-isolation. Then you have one sample t-test wherein t dot test is just v, wherein you're saying mu, that is the value of mean, is equal to 3. So h0 is that the mean, that is mu, which is shown on the screen, is equal to 3, right? So you can utilize all of these to do t-test, and incidentally your linear regression models have inbuilt t-test over there. So when we do linear regressions, we'll be covering more of this. Now we'll get into a one-way ANOVA, right? So what is an ANOVA basically? So an ANOVA is an analysis of variation in an experimental outcome, and specifically about the statistical variance in order to determine the contribution of a given factor or variable to the variance. What it basically means is that if your child is going to a school and in the initial years the kid is not attending tuitions, right, and then later the kid starts attending tuitions, I want to isolate the effect of the tuition, and I want to say that after attending the tuition classes I expect him to be better than what he was performing before. So if I do this test on a group of students, some of them who are going to classes and some of them who are not going to classes, I typically expect a different kind of behavior. And if they happen to show the same kind of behavior, that means the stimulus which I am giving to the data over here, that means the tuition class, is not having an effect, and that is what the ANOVA test is basically trying to do. So in the null hypothesis formulation, the mean of all the groups are equal. So you are assuming that under standard conditions all of this data is behaving equal to each other, and the alternate is not all the means are equal. So the assumptions are each group is approximately normal, the observations are independent, and errors are normally distributed, and all groups have equal variance within them, and there is no presence of outlier. So if you want to summarize this, then the process is define the null and the alternate, which is the most important thing. If you don't define the null and the alternate properly, then the whole thing is going to go in dump. So that is the most important thing, and this is applicable for anything. So if you're doing formulation, say optimization problem, then what is your problem? If it's a minimization or a maximization problem, the definition itself is very important. Then we'll be producing descriptive statistics like mean, median, mode, basis what you're going to compare, verify your assumptions, normality check, independence, variances are equal or for all groups or not, examine the p-value in the ANOVA table, and if the p is less than alpha, which is the critical p-value 0.05 under standard condition, If you want to make it strict, then you can say 0.01 is the p-value, and if you want to be lenient, then 0.1 would be the p-value. And this is the requirement. You might change it. For example, in sales, you might want to keep a p which is very lenient, say 0.1, and if it is about something like judiciary, you might want the p to be very strict, so you can keep 0.01 also. So R has many tests for checking the homogeneity of the variance. For this example, Bartler's test is also available, right? So you can check BARTLETT dot test, right? And in this you can pass the response. Okay, so again this data is not available, so I'm just going to use something else. Say for example, let me use again something like MPG tilde and say displacement as a data, and data is equal to empty cars. Right. So it says there must be at least 2 observations in each group, and displacement evidently doesn't have something like that. Let me just change this and make this as weight. So this works, but it only works for data which has categorical behavior, right? So this is the k-squared value, that is chi-squared value. This is degrees of freedom, and this is the p-value, which is within the limits of 0.05. So yes, in this case we can check that the homogeneity is there, right? And it's not a heterogeneity case, so which is talking more about the heteroscedasticity versus the homoscedasticity, right? So this test indicates that the variance in the phi groups don't differ significantly, right? So if p is 0.97, which you can see in the example on your board, is saying that for the cholesterol data within the phi groups, the p is 0.97, which is an indication that the null is proven correct and the alternate is rejected. So means, which is not what we expect. We really want to see that the variation in the group should be there. That's what we expect, right? So what you're seeing on the board is different, and what you're seeing over here is different, because that's a cholesterol data in which you had that, and in this case it's different, right? And there are other possible tests like the Flingner-Killing test, Brown-Forshall test, right? And you can use them also, provided those packages are available in the latest R versions. So in ANOVA, you are basically trying to test whether the observations are independent. The observations in group should be independent, means that the two groups consist of different individuals, not the same individuals measured twice or specifically matched individuals. So in the dataset, the study was conducted on 50 different individuals, hence the observations are independent. Now you could use ANOVA test for outliers also. So you can basically try to test whether there is an outlier present in the data, right? So you can use the outlier test, which is available, right? No, so you can just use the library car which we have already loaded, outlier test on fit, and you will basically get the Bonforni p-value, which is nothing but a corrected p-value based on, because when you do a chi-square on different sets of data, you have to add a Bonforni correction to that. Again, you need to check out some of the text to really understand what the Bonforni correction is, because this is data which is subsetted again and again, and when you do a hypothesis based on that, you will have to add this correction to the data. So from the output which you can see on the screen, there is no indication of an outlier in the cholesterol data, and obviously since we don't have that data right now on screen, we're just going with the screen itself. The final conclusion will be that you can take the QQ plot, the Barrett test, and the outlier test together, and if the data appears to fit, there are no assumptions, right? So then you don't have the multi-comp, so you won't be able to do that, right? But if you had it, you should be able to do whatever is shown on your screen. So you'll first generate the descriptive statistics, you will run the ANOVA, and then you'll do the interpretation. Always you'll be looking at the p-value. If it is less than 0.05, you'll accept the null hypothesis. If it is greater than 0.05, you will say that you will have to accept the alternate hypothesis, right? So the critical value over here is the p critical, which is 0.05. Less than 0.05, go with the null. Greater than 0.05, go for the alternate. That's how we will see it. So looking at the output, you can see that 10 patients received each of the drug, right? And at the means, drug E produced the greatest cholesterol reduction, whereas one time produced the least, right? So if you are giving a patient the drug one time, and if the drug is E, then you can see the greatest reduction in the cholesterol level, right? So the ANOVA-F test for treatment is significant where the P is less than 0.0001, providing evidence that the 5 treatments aren't all equally effective. That means there's difference in the behavior in all of the drugs, and that is what you basically are trying to test. Say for example, you are a fertilizer manufacturer wherein 2 or 3 fertilizers are existing, which is a specific combination of components, and you are coming up with a new fertilizer. Obviously you will do a field test wherein you want to compare whether your drug is more effective than theirs, with a reduced dosage and a reduced strength also, right? And obviously with a reduced price, and that is what you try to prove. And these results would be shared with somebody who is controlling all these things. So maybe in this case it would be some government organization where you will be submitting all these results, and they will be cross validating, and then you'll get the approval for the drug or for the fertilizer. So you can do multiple comparisons also, right? So it again depends upon whether you are doing it on a field test where it's done once, or whether you're doing it multiple times. Say for example, when you're looking at clinical trials, a drug which is given to different audiences. So there's a control group, there is a treatment group, and then again there is a population behavior difference. So for example, a drug which works in maybe India might not be that effective when you take it to maybe US, or might not be that potent when you look at a South African market, right? Because based on the existing condition, the exposure they have taken to different kinds of viruses, whatever is in existence, the resistance to certain ailments would be different. And obviously you can expect that in areas, say for example within Mumbai, if you look at a slum area, the infestation of mosquitoes is high, but comparative to a very plush area, you can observe that their resistance is quite high as compared to a person who is in a very posh locality, right? So when you're doing all these tests, you will have to do multiple comparison tests, and that is where ANOVA-F test will come in handy.